Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for a season 4 Yu-Gi-Oh! Spoiler review. We'll be discussing the Waking of the Dragons arc. Probably one of the most pivotal, is that the right word? Well, you know what I mean. The most, you know, I wouldn't say the most important one, but it's just like, it really took it to the next level and a very important arc for the Pharaoh. Uh, this will be like his first legitimate loss against a particular opponent, which we'll get to. But man, was like I remember when I first saw it as a kid, I just could not believe it. By logical standpoint, by every sense of the rules of the game, he legitimately lost. And was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He lost. And I was remembering watching it with my relatives. And we was like, fans of the show. And our mouth was agape like, holy shit. Fuck. Like, but like I said, we'll get to it. But yeah. This arc we got a new villain, Darts, who is, masterminding these machinations to bring forth this great divine beast called the Leviathan. He has three particular henchmen with different reasons to join up with him, with Axe to Grind, Alistair with Kaiba, Valen for Joey, and Raphael for Yugi. They had like this old dude, but he wasn't really like a big deal. It's not really much of a character. He was a very jobber of a dude, and they stole the three Egyptian god cards from Yugi's grandfather, and they Yugi and his group followed them, and Yugi dueled against the old dude, and he summoned Obelisk the Tormentor, which is, not being from ancient Egypt directly. He normally that kills a person. I mean, anybody who's not of that particular lineage will die immediately. But they had this ancient power, something even more ancient than ancient Egypt, called the Orichalcos, and and it's an actual card, the Seal of Orichalcos, a field spell card. When played, allows its ancient magic allows the summoner of anyone who summoned the Egyptian gods. It doesn't even matter if they're from ancient Egypt or not. They can be able to summon it, play it, like anybody else. It still hurts because the remnants are still there, but it's not fatal. And while Yugi dueled him and won, they realized they got a new threat to contend with and trying to get the god cards back so Pharaoh can start the mystery solving of his ancient past to recover his memories. So, Darts, in the meantime, also is buying out bits and pieces of Kaiba. That's how you get Kaiba into the mix. And they trick him into believing that, because like Pegasus knew, this great evil is coming, and sent the tape to get like the to Yugi and his friends to get fly them out to, I believe it was San Francisco, where Industrial Illusions Company is the headquarters is at, uh, just so they can corroborate or collaborate to get this ancient to stop this ancient evil. Now, of course, they was hesitant on watching any tape coming from Pegasus, given the fact that what happened the first season. They ain't trying to be fooled again. So, uh, they all brace themselves. Okay, and it's just a normal tape. So, they listen to Pegasus' story. They still don't believe him. Why would they? Given the fact of what he put them through, like why would they even listen to him? But I gotta say, on a side note, I think like Pegasus is one of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh villains. Like he's such a standout character. He made such an impression that it's like his tune deck, his relinquish, Thousand Eyes Restrict, and his like mannerisms, and the fact that he's in the anime, he's the one who created Duel Monsters. He is the standout of a villain, right next to like Merrick and Bakura, because like they leave an impression, and Durst to some extent, but it's just that I don't know. I wish there's only a few Aura Calcos type cards in the real world, and I wish they kind of like put more support out there for that. It'll be an interesting type of deck to have in real life, the Seal Orichalcos themed deck. But anyway, Kaiba got tricked believing that Pegasus might be the one responsible for buying up companies, or at least know who is responsible. And so him and Mogubo fly out to Duelist Kingdom again, and right back at the same area that they dueled in the finals, which is like, looking back on it, it's like a very memorable nostalgia kind of arena. They dueled each other, and Kaiba, who got better cards and gotten a lot stronger of a duelist since the first time he dueled Pegasus, finally got one up on him, but then realized it was all a ploy, because this is not Pegasus. This is a character named Alistair, one of the bikers that was rolling with, who was responsible of stealing the Egyptian God cards. He has an axe to grind with Kaiba, or at least the Kaiba family in general, and the company they run, because when he was little, him and his little brother was in his war-torn country. There was never very specific on what country it is, but it was like riddled with like wars with some unknown enemy. It was it was just him and his little brother. Now his little brother Mikey, has this action figure called Diamond Dude. Or Dyna Dude is Dyna Dude. I keep confusing with Diamond Dude. That's a Destiny Hero card from Astro Phoenix, but it's Dyna Dude. Dyna Dude. And it's the only thing that's kind of like keep Mikey going. But in the anime, they was raised by a mother, but she was captured. But in the Japanese version, she was killed as collateral damage, given like the war-torn strife that was going on in their country. And there was another bombing. Mikey got caught up in it. He was apparently captured, but he was actually killed. They usually do things like that. People go missing, or in a coma, or instead of just flat out killed, when it's obviously they were killed. Even when I was a kid, I knew it was like it probably meant killed, as it made no sense that he never seen him since. But anyway, only thing that was left of Mikey was this scarred action figure that was left behind, and he happened to see Gozaburo Kaiba uh, shaking hands with some military officials, and he just blames Gozaburo and uh, the Kaiba Corporation in general for what happened to his family, especially his little brother, who, being the older brother, uh, he was always the one looking out for him, and it's like the last piece of family was ripped from him. So, yeah, but oh, you know, the reason it's called Waking the Dragons is these legendary dragons of ancient Atlantis, who were responsible for defeating the Leviathan 10,000 years ago, where they were sealed away. So Yugi, Joey, and Kaiba, each respectively had released these dragons, and they have, Yugi had Eye Timaeus, which is an actual card. If you ever watch me play Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelists on my YouTube channel, you see me play it a few times, where this card is able to fuse with monsters to make equip cards, or not, well, not equip cards. I'm sorry. We were able to fuse with monsters to make brand new monsters. Like, it was only two. Amulet Dragon, once Timaeus is fused with Dark Magician, or Dark Magician uh, 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 Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight. I think is that the title. If you fuse Timaeus with Dark Magician Girl, and of course they have their respective abilities. Amulet Dragon can destroy a monster. Dark Magician Girl, Dragon Knight can banish magic cards to increase its power. Then Kaiba was able to release Critias in order to help, at least not technically beat Alistair, but managed to broker a tie. But Critias was able to fuse with trap cards to make new monsters that take on the properties of said trap card, like his Doom Virus Dragon fused with Crush card that can destroy powerful monsters on the opponent's side of the field for a few turns. Tyrant Dragon fused with Tyrant Wing to be able to battle multiple monsters in a single battle phase. And then Mirror Force Dragon fused with Mirror Force can destroy monsters on the opponent's side of the field all at once. And then Joey releases Heramos, who has the ability to fuse with certain monsters to make equip magic cards, like fusing with like a warrior type monster. You get something like Goddess Bow or Rocket Hermos Cannon, that can attack multiple. Well, Rocket Hermos Cannon has like a piercing battle damage, even if the monster's in defense mode. Goddess Bow can attack multiple times. Fusing with a spellcaster, you get like Time Wizard. You get I forgot what it's called, like Time Hammer or something like that. That sends the opponent's in a battle phase, sends the opponent's monsters, whatever how many, at least up to the number of 6, to send it out of play for by rolling a die. Let's say like when he's dueling against Mai, I think if he rolled a 1, whoever random monster gets that 1 digit, they remove from play and come back in the next turn of the opponent. and of course he confused with a dragon type. You get Red Eyes Black Dragon Sword, and you equip it to a monster, and their attack increases uh, by whatever how many dragon types are on the field or in the graveyard. I think that's it. But anyway, uh, uh, they went to Industrial Illusions. They met up with my Valen and Raphael. And my has an axe to grind with, well, all Team Yugi, but more specifically Joey. Now, this is a very interesting thing, which, as a kid, I understood, but I always thought it was like so odd that she made this turnaround, or at least, well, we know better as far as like people going through. I mean, it'd be great, like a psych eval. I think she should have gotten some serious help, because she was still like PTSD from the events of what Yami Merrick put her through in the Shadow Realm. Even though she got better, came back, between the end of that season up until this point, she went back to her old life, going through tournaments, winning, but it just, didn't feel the same. And, it's just that she always still remembers her time there, and it's like it was scarring. And she felt alone, and, as a kid, I always thought like, you know where they live, you can just go back to them and ask them to, like, for some comfort or whatever. You went straight to a bad guy just to I mean, of course she was vulnerable and everything like that, but it just, that always confused me how, like, I mean, I can never assume what a person would or would not do in that state of mind, given a particular, because everybody's different depending on the level of trauma they might have go through. So I can't really say what she should have done or what she should not have done, because I can't really speculate on that. But as a kid, my mind went to, where these people live. You felt alone. It's like I literally have like at least a handful of people that I can I can count, like, at least a total of 5 people that I can definitely count on, that I can call right now if I'm feeling like depressed or down or alone or whatever like that. At the very least, if I felt that way, I don't go to a drug dealer for advice or whatever like that. It's just, you usually don't go down that route off the top of your head. You know what I mean? But anyway, she aired out her grievances, like, y'all left me, y'all went on your little merry way. Like, you didn't once thinking about me, and especially you, Joey. And like, it's like, the Ma you knew was weak, and the Zero Calcos made me strong. And Joey, he constantly went on like he's brainwashing you. And I was like, it's like, even though they, constantly saying like nobody's brainwashing nobody, but it's clearly maybe not full on brainwashing, but you definitely was sold a bill of goods at the least. But she was seriously trouncing Joey while he was trying to figure out a way to, like, snap her out of it, but he's seen her losing life points in the meantime. But he managed to get Hermos in order to turn the tables. But Valen, who obviously has like a thing for Mai, use, because each one of the baggers, these 3 baggers, has a seal or a calcos on their person in some way. Valen has a ring with the Oricalco stone on it, and use it to break the seal. But that powerful magic is devastating. And breaking his arm, he had to put in a sling for a few episodes. because she was about to lose, even though because like she, my always got this kind of attitude about her. Now I understand her point of view. Like, I can't imagine because her mind was trapped in the shadow realm, being tortured. Yeah, like she was envisioning herself being buried alive in an hourglass, and it's like and watching her friends like go off do their thing and ignoring her. So it's obviously traumatic. She went through some trauma, and like it'll be interesting to see like a psychologist or somebody look at that her arc in particular, and like assess what, like at least articulate, because I can't really do it because I'm not a psychologist myself, but it's like it'd be interesting to point out that kind of trauma and what it does to a person like mine, who's always been like self-reliant and always like confident and everything like that, and all that was stripped away from her. It's like, and I can't imagine for a woman. It's like like you're being uh everything about yourself was like being torn asunder, and like you put on this brave face, but inside you're still hurting, and you're too proud to ask for help, that kind of thing. I just can't imagine uh her mindset, during all that time. I always want like a psychologist, like I got like psychiatry books on like from like Travis Langley. He have like a bunch of psychology books about like certain superheroes that I thoroughly enjoy. The first one I got was like Batman: A Dark and Stormy Night, and one on Daredevil, Joker, Black Panther, Wonder Woman. It's really good stuff. Highly recommend it. Always wanted him to do one for like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. I think Yu-Gi-Oh is most in particular because you're dealing with characters who definitely went through some trauma, but also uh, uh, definitely had uh, like a lot of characters have like dual personalities that they constantly, like at least in Yugi's case, Yugi and Merrick's case, they talk back and forth with each other. Uh, uh, very rarely you get that with Bakura, but it's there. Uh, hey Nick, so I always thought like, yeah, I really want like a psychologist to do like a book on the psychology on Yu-Gi-Oh, because that'd be a very interesting thing, because you're dealing with like level of trauma, torture, psychotic breaks, dual personalities, that kind of thing. That'd be very interesting. But anyway, they, meet up with Kaiba. They went into further industrial illusions, and well, the duel with Yugi and Mai is always great because it's like I always love seeing Joey with his luck-based decks. It's so freaking fun because like in particular scene, it always cracks me up, and I love every time I see it because like Rex and Weevil are in tow, and they got an impressive arc in this too, a minor arc, but it was like it's like a very turn event, like a eye-opening things on supporting characters that you usually don't get that in most animes. But when Joey plays, I'm pretty sure it was Contagion of Madness trap card, where when like Maya's about to attack, the attack's negated, and you shuffle that trap card with with two of her magic or trap cards in her graveyard. She shuffles it, places it on the field face down, and Joey has to pick one. And if it's his trap card, then the battle phase ends, or at least her turn immediately ends. And but if he picks not that one, but any of the others, then the attack continues, and he will end up losing the duel. He ended up picking the right card, and and Weevil and Rex's reaction is hilarious. I was like, now that is some luck. And like, next time I'm going to Bingo, I'm bringing him. it was freaking funny because like the I recall my reaction when I first saw this episode as a kid. I was like, it was like, oh my, this lucky son of a bitch. It's like, oh my god, I will never. It's like never in a million years I would be that freaking lucky. Like, oh my god, it always blew my mind how lucky Joey gets with his coin flips and dice rolls and like just choosing kind of you know options. And it's like he just 9 times out of 10 he gets it. There's only rare occasions when he fails at his luck base cards, but when it hits, man, it blows your mind every time. But anyway, they go further into the industrial illusions, find a hologram of Pegasus, let him know about like the secret card that will help defeat Darts, who's been responsible for like buying out Kyber Corp and stealing Yugi's god cards to help facilitate summoning this beast. And they eventually run into like Rebecca Hawkins, and well, the bikers kidnap Rebecca's grandfather in order to lure the Pharaoh out. At least Raphael wanted to lure the Pharaoh out by himself so he can duel him to claim his soul, because since the Pharaoh's soul has great ancient power, that's like a big boost that they definitely will need to summon this great Leviathan, which is like part of the more key soul. But as Yugi and Pharaoh went out to accept the challenge of Raphael, Raphael gave him the spiel like, like you're the great evil Pharaoh, and it's like, I'm not evil. I'm fighting evil. Darkness is one of those evil, and it's like, how would you know? You don't even remember you don't even have your memories. For all you know, you were the great evil. You just don't remember it. And it's like, it's shocking, like him to his core. And I think it probably would play well in the Japanese version, given the fact that in season 0, the way Yami Yugi behaved, which is very more sadistic, which would fall in line with what Darts and Raphael is saying, as far as like how like, the Pharaoh is like, kind of like, filled with hatred and darkness kind of thing. But since merging with little Yugi, his purity, it's like purity as far as like he has a conscience, his humanity kind of balances out in kind of darkness that that's part of, it's the whole yin and yang thing. It's like they feel each other, and they balance each other out. They keep each other grounded. And little Yugi borrows Pharaoh's confidence and bravery, while the Pharaoh borrows Yugi's spirit and compassion. Not that Pharaoh isn't compassionate, but it's just given the fact that what we've seen, if you recall, when I did the spoiler review for season 1 of Duelist Kingdom, when he dueled against Kaiba on top of the castle, when push comes to shove, if he has to win at all costs, it's at all costs, because like he has a goal in mind, and nothing will deter him for that. But little Yugi is there to hold that back, rein that in a bit, and this further highlights that need, because Raphael played exchange magic card and traded cards and gave Pharaoh the seal of Orichalcos, essentially tempting him, gun in his head, tempting him to use it in order to like gain the edge and the advantage of the duel so he can win. And Lil Yugi's kept telling him like, don't play that card. Do not play that card. He's messing with you. Do not play that card. We've seen what it happens to people. And like, of course he heeds the warning, but eventually when like he's backed in the corner, he's desperate and he really wants to win this duel. And the play case to season 0 of this version of the character is when it's like he's the king of games. This is Yu-Gi-Oh, which means king of games. He's got to be the winner of these games. He has to beat them, especially when lives are on the line and he's trying to do good things, but he's going through a sadistic way of trying to get to it. If there's an obstacle in his way, he will obliterate that obstacle in order to save the greater good, kind of situation. And like, Yugi Spirit's trying to hold him back, and he's like, go to me. And it's like, holy crap, it's like a marriage crow you watching in front of your eyes, and it's like, it's awkward. And because I remember when I was a kid how awkward it was to see these two argue like this. I was like, oh my god. And it was like, it's like I was feeling bad for little Yugi. It's like this dude's like completely gone AWOL on him, and he played the Seal Calcos, and it's like it fed off Pharaoh's darkness, and you see him just you sacrifice his monsters left and right without any kind of forethought or consideration of what he is doing. And like you see, like utilizing his catapult turtle to send off his monsters, and Dark Magician Girl. You see Dark Magician Girl give this look before she was sent off, and he's just like, "What are you waiting for? Go!" And it's like, Jesus Christ. And then of course Raphael turned the tables on him, and he beat the Pharaoh, using like Guardian Yatos. And then when Caesar was about to take him, Little Yugi stepped in, essentially taking his place. And the Seal of Orichalcos only need one soul. They don't care which. And he kind of lucked out because like there's two souls inhabiting one body, so he he switched places. So the Seal took Little Yugi so Pharaoh can fight on. And this distraught Pharaoh's in tears, distraught on the ground, and this is the first time you actually see somebody get physical with people, like, and it's not cut away or anything like that. When Joey, after he figured out what happened to little Yugi, his friend, he decks Pharaoh right in the face, and I was like, Jesus Christ, shit just got real. And that's what I'm saying. Like, this is the most, like, probably one of the essential arcs of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters specifically, when it's like they don't cut away. They which I kind of like. It shows you the gravity of the situation where they don't cut away. They want to let you see the emotion, raw emotion. These kudos to the voice actors on this too, because they, you can feel the emotion pouring out from them. And then like the animation, when just like you see like fist to jaw hit Pharaoh right in here and send him like right on the ground. And it was like, it was, everybody's hurting at this point. It kind of reminds me of like when I played Final Fantasy 15 and Noctis lost his supposed future wife, his love interest, during the climax of the game, or at least halfway through the game, and he's like on there, and it's like a devastation at the city that was in, and on the train right back, everybody's very solemn, quiet, and they felt defeated. And it's kind of same thing here. They took they got on a train ride back, or at least trying to like head off to the next into the city, or at least to meet up with everybody, with Kaiba and them. After Kaiba sitting there, lost, got more bug up his ass than any other time throughout the series. The fact that when you heard about like Yugi losing to some rando, instead of losing to him, he was infuriated. It was like, y'all should never call this dude. Y'all know how y'all know how he is, and like what his reaction was gonna be. Like, why do you think it was gonna be a good idea to even? I mean, right? Better you let him know now than later. But it's like you knew he was gonna get an earful. I don't know why you even bothered. But anyway, during this whole ordeal, Weevil and Rex, followed Raphael back to Dartz's headquarters in order to ask for the same power they gave Mai in order to become better duelists, so they can take their revenge out on Joey and Yugi, because they are still like like it cut deep what they went through since Duelist Kingdom, where they lost against these essentially no-name dudes at the time. Because as Rex put it when he was telling Joey as they was dueling, it's like, we had everything. We were like the top dueling champions, and all of a sudden we run into you two punks, and then y'all like mopped the floor with us, humiliated us. Now it's like we're becoming a laughing stock. And then Joey's like, you got axe to grind with us because you're not popular no more? Like, we got so much more to duel for than, I'm doing it for much more than popularity here. And of course, like, the Oricosicals is feeding off their, their negativity. But that's how they're feeling. It's just, they were kind of selfish dudes anyway, given the fact that some kid asked for their autograph one time, this pre-Duelist Kingdom, and they end up, charging him for it, and he had to give his Duel Monsters card in order to get like the autograph from them. And then after the Duelist Kingdom, when they lost, the boy's older brother came up and jumped them and took back his card. And it was a funny little scene when like a dog came by and pissed on Rex and then walked off. That always cracked me up because that's like perfect comedy. Like this, like the right kind of comedy is all about timing, and that was like the right timing. Just like this dog coming in and pissed on him just to top it off. Oh my god, it gets me every time I see that. It's just like chef's kiss. It's like just like a nice little bow on top of their sad story. But on some small level, I understand their feelings. That is too self-absorbed to understand the bigger picture beyond themselves. Given the fact that they already got their souls taken once, but got it back thanks to Yugi when that old man tried to take it. But it's just like with Kaiba. It's like he believing all it's like a glitch in his. Darks is messing with his dual system thing and causing everybody seeing these monsters wreaking havoc and blah blah blah. And it's like he's still not getting it. But we're going up on the last season of Duel Monsters before we head into GX. But it's a nice little rematch. It's something that I remember always wanting to see them after like the upgrade in their decks since like Duelist Kingdom and Battle City. This is a nice little uh nice little rematch between Yugi and Weevil and Rex and Joey, uh, just to see how far they came. Not only to see how far they came, but just to see these two, like, I wouldn't even think Joey and Yugi even consider them even rivals. There was this adversaries that was just acting straight like a, assholes to them. And it's kind of like dealing with troll people online when you playing video game, and then once you mop the floor with them, they ain't got crap to say no more. That's what Weaver and Rex, reminds me of. But when we will try to pull a stunt on the Pharaoh, saying like, "Oh, I got Yugi so right in this card," and you don't see the card, and then he rips it in half, and it's like, and saying like, "Oh, it's just a joke," blah blah blah, and it's like, Pharaoh was not in the mood for that. Like you stepped on a nerve that you should not have been stepping on, especially now in this moment while the moment is raw. So without little Yugi to hold him back, he's full force. And as so far as like playing a magic card called Berserk Soul, where he can draw monsters, so he can keep attacking with his Berserker card, and like just slashing and just not just letting it end because he already won, but he just keeps on going and just slashing and slashing. Of course, this is family friendly for kids stuff, mind you, but we knew as kids that this is like kind of the still our calculus is kind of makes this real. So he's feeling getting slashed on and on and on, and the Pharaoh's not letting up and just let it die, or not let him die, but just let it go and stop. He already won. This is his overkill at this point. He just like he's full sadistic mode now, because like I said about the balance, is like without that, it's nothing reining him in if he pushes buttons. But he meets because they was on a train, but it kind of separates because somehow Darks has the Seal Cockles makes hallucinations because they was on a train and it's supposed to be full of people, and all of a sudden they turn around, then the people are just not around anymore. It's just Tristan, Joey, Taya, and Yugi. And might I say before I forget, Taya's hair in this keep reminding me of like somebody put a cardboard box over her head or something like that, because her hair looked like just a cardboard box pretty much. It's hard for me to not see that every time I look at her head. Anyway, they got those two, the four got separated 2v2, and Taya and Yugi went out in the middle of the desert, and they ran into this old guy named Lionheart and this little girl, Chris, and their wolf pet. And they take the Pharaoh, knowing his destiny to defeat Darts and the Great Beast. They take him to this little circle to it's like he has to go through some trials to get past what happened, because given the fact that he used the Seal Orichalcos, he betrayed the dragon Timaeus. So Timaeus won't be allowed to play for him. It just like refuses. When he tried to play it against Weevil, it wouldn't work. He just he felt betrayed. He acknowledged the betrayal, so he wasn't worthy of him. It's like Mjolnir. In a way, it's like you're not worthy. So as he's going through this circle, these trials, he has to go by himself, and it's like an arena of souls, and it's like a nice little moment. I always thought it was a nice moment where it's like Yugi is going through past villains that he defeated through the past few seasons. and they don't say nothing, but you just see like just the images, and it's more so a nostalgia than anything else. You see like Bandit Keith, Arcana, Merrick, uh, uh, and then you also see Weevil. Uh, Now I'm not sure if these are just completely lost souls that were defeated, because Diamond Merrick is definitely defeated. His soul's in a. This is supposed to be like a bridge between the spirit realm and the real world. So it's like, yeah, I know Arcana's definitely his mind went to the Shadow Realm along with uh Yami Merrick, and then but they're in the Shadow Realm. He eventually meets with the spirit of little Yugi, but him and Weevil are, their souls were taken by the great Leviathan as pretty much batteries. So it's like, that part was a little confusing to me, as far as like, I mean, it's fine, but it's just like, okay, they were able to like still reach out. At least little Yugi managed to still reach out. I guess their connection was strong enough to allow that for a brief moment. But you see Weevil, and it's like, it's like, all right, his soul is definitely went to the Leviathan, while the others Yugi passed are in the Shadow Realm, which is completely separate. But anyway, he confronts little Yugi, tried to explain himself, saying he's sorry, and little Yugi very antagonistic. It's like, oh, you're sorry? Oh, it's funny how you're sorry now when my soul's the one who was on the line, and blah blah blah. So they end up doing each other, and little Yugi's trying to explain to him like, it's time for you to take responsibility for yourself for once. You they dueled, and with Pharaoh beating little Yugi, it's all about like trying to get him to confront his mistakes and conquer the darkness in his soul. That was the point of the trial. And eventually they all meet up again, the team, and they back in the city, and they like at least they was on their way back to the city. But in the meantime, Kaiba and Moga was on the plane back to the city, where once again, people, it's supposed to be like hallucinations apparently, thanks to the magic of the Rory Kakos. But Alistair took over the plane while he put it in autopilot. He challenges Kaiba again to a duel, and it's like showing him visions of the past, of his past, growing up in that war-torn area. And it's like, as they trying to explain to him, it's like, look, we know our father was a snake. We didn't agree with anything he does. He treated us badly too. That's why when we took over, we changed a lot of that. We don't make weapons and all that stuff. It's like, to Alistair, thanks to the seal Lori Kakos, he wasn't hearing it. He's like, whether or not you was involved directly or not, you're still taking on, you're still using his resources. You're still using the Kaiba name. You are just as equally responsible. So I can't go after him. You're the next thing I can put my anger out on. And that's another thing. It was like cool to see like a psychologist see like people's not taking responsibility, or at least where they feel something or someone has wounded them in some manner, they retaliate, and they choose to retaliate to whomever they feel that they felt like they was wounded by, instead of just assessing the situation and on a case by case basis and blah blah blah. But it's just that you know, Alistair wasn't hearing it. His uh deck is kind of like soldier army kind of base deck, like military warfare. You got tanks and different kind of soldiers. So it's like very like I guess military based deck, but it wasn't. It's very not like a specific thing. Like a Blue Eyes deck is specifically like a Blue Eyes type of cards related to that support. This is like you got Blue Eyes White Dragons, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, uh, uh, the Paladin of White Dragon, that kind of thing. Different variations of the same card that to help facilitate the summoning of Blue Eyes White Dragon. This you got like Gadget Soldier, Science Soldier, and this is just random soldiers. They don't belong to a specific theme or anything like that. Just random different cards that happen to be if you want to build like a military deck, get various forms of cards that look tank related kind of thing. But it's not like I was following a specific. If it's a thing, but it's not a specific thing that makes any sense. You know what I mean? I use the Blue Eyes White Dragon as an example. It's like, can you imagine like a blue? This is my Blue Eyes White Dragon deck, but it's just you got 3 Blue Eyes, but everything else is all random different kind of dragons. It's not necessarily like a Blue Eyes themed deck. But he summoned this Air Ziggurat, which got the face of that action figure that he always carries around. But Kaiba eventually won, summoning his Fangocridias, merging with his Tyrant Wings to defeat the Air Fortress. And before the seal takes him away, he gives Mokuba, seeing the face of his little brother through him, gives Mokuba his action figures, and just and let the seal take him. Now, each one of these bikers, definitely has a very sympathetic background, but we'll get to their backgrounds, a little bit. But Kaiba's empathy towards Alistair, I mean, like, you kind of see him like low key kind of empathize, given the fact that he got like a older brother looking at his little brother, but tragedy happens in his as what he was told Gozaburo was responsible for, so you kind of feel for him. But he even goes as far as saying like, look, if you end this now, I may consider helping you. He's like I can see Kaiba in some fashion giving Alistair some compensation for his loss in some manner, probably in the most dickish way possible, but I can see him doing it. They managed to get off their plane thanks to Kaiba Corporation's their aircrafts coming by to pick them up off the other plane before it crashes. As they gather together in the city, meeting up, they going through some investigation at Kaiba Corporation to find out about the seals and darts, even though they darts are responsible. I guess they didn't like put the face to it, but they finally got the face to whom they were dealing with instead of just one name. But in the meantime, Joey is battling Valen, who, like I said before, had a thing for Mai, feeling like, okay, I get rid of Wheeler, so Mai doesn't have to duel and run the risk of losing her soul. So that way she can forget about the past and specifically him, because he knows that Mai has feelings for Joey, even though she's not articulating it and he's not picking up on it. And his deck is probably I think Valen and Raphael's decks are the most interesting because they do follow a specific thing compared to Valen. I mean, Alistair's, where like Raphael has like a Guardian deck, that specifically requires some of them to be summoned by the effects of equip cards, and they're most effective if none of them are in the graveyard. Uh, Valen's deck is something I think is a real life card set now, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm maybe like 60 to 70% sure they're real cards. Uh, but it's like an armor themed deck, very Iron Man, mind you. You got like like a pseudo armor. Each armor piece does follows a specific function. The one effect that they all share is that if one piece is being attacked, Valen can choose to redirect the attack to another specific piece. So you got like second armor head, active guard, big bang blow, overboost, jet gauntlet, buster pile, uh, black hole shield. He has all these specific kind of cards. So you get to see him actually, because he likes fighting, but you get to see him actually, like a actual duelist participating in the actual duel itself, which I always thought that was like a cool theme, like a cool duel, with like that happening. You don't really see that often. You probably never until like the last time I see like a duelist taking like active role in a duel is when Arc 5, when you get those action cards, even though they mostly abandoned it again towards the end of the series. But that was awesome to look at, just to see like a duelist actually getting physical and incorporating his cards in the game still fluidly, or at least effortlessly. So Joey, this is the first time you get to see the ritual monster card, because Joey has a slick little armor set thing too. But he also got this ritual monster card, which I played on Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of Duels before, Lord of the Red, which is pretty much like a big suit of armor that reminiscent to Red Eyes Black Dragon. And Joey managed to beat Valen right when Mai's there, and she's pretty much taking the next duel against him. And with all the beating Joey was taking, and the energy, he was like, because like Valen and Joey's duel was intense. Me each other blow for blow, and like and bumping against the sealed barrier as like I think at least like a shock or something like that. And it's like his body is like done. He needs time to recuperate before he even considers coming to another duel. But she wasn't giving him an option, so he's doing as much as he could until like he couldn't do it anymore. And like it's just similar to like the whole Merrick duel. It's like he's exhausted and he's passing out, and the seal just like, okay, you can't go on, so he's technically force fits. And then Maya eventually comes to her senses, realizing like Joey actually does care, given the fact that what he's doing, everything he's doing just to get through to her, showing that he actually cared. She went back and just to seek revenge for Joey, duel against Raphael. She loses her soul, so it didn't amount to much, which they really do Mai dirty in the Duel Monsters series, given the fact that she, out of the main story, she win all these tournaments and duel these people, and it's like she's phenomenal. But it's like when you're doing like a main, well, of course the main villain, you're not gonna probably win, but when you're seeing her duel when it's not against people that's supposed to be her friends or just off-screen kind of duels, I really want to see her wanted her to see like, okay, she goes through like her own type of rival or something like that, and just, and I'm not talking about Jean Claude Magnum, that piece of shit. That I don't even want to even account that, because that was such weak sauce of a duel. It didn't amount to that. It was a waste of time of an episode. I don't even remember even. I don't think I did talk about that. I skipped over that entire subject during the Battle City arc that I was doing a review for. That was a waste of time, uh, in every sense of the word, and definitely a waste of seeing my skills uh, really, you know, I want like to see like a duelist for Mai, kind of like Violet and Joey's duel. I want something similar to put like Mai through her paces for her to ultimately overcome and win. I wanted to see that. They never gave her that to her, and that's the problem with the Yu-Gi-Oh series for the most part. Is the fact that what they do with the female support or leads, where they uh, don't give them either much to work with, or they are just abandoning them, like, partway through the series. Like Akiza in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds is an amazing duelist. Same thing with Alexis Rose, amazing female duelist, main female protagonist in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. But after maybe like season 1, they just abandoned their like everything about them that we like. They just completely abandoned them, and now they just like reduced to like cheering for the main protagonist, and it's like, that sucks. I never liked that. It's like I never liked that for Akiza. I never liked that for Alexis. I never liked that for Mai, because those three, in particular, and Selena in Arc 5, and Zuzu to some extent, and Julia and Dextra too, like Julia from Arc 5 and Dextra and Zaxo. Those are like primarily on top of my head, like the best female protagonists, or at least support duelists in the Yu-Gi-Oh franchise. And they, after maybe the first season or halfway through the first season, after a few duels in certain episodes, they just like, they treat them like chumps after the fact. I was like, that sucks. I hate that. And I wish I haven't seen Zexo. Not Zexo, Vrains. I haven't seen Vrains yet. They're supposed to be bringing the English dub soon. But I don't know how they treat their female leads or support there. But I hope it's better. But I haven't heard anything of the sort otherwise. But they had whoever's running, or Konami, or whoever's running the Yu-Gi-Oh series, needs a reality check and knows how to and should learn how to treat, especially in this day and age where like how female empowerment and everything like that. They need to get a clue and make sure, not only if not making a female protagonist lead, instead of like the male, usually the male leads, make a female, either do a female lead for once, or make like a supporting female protagonist like Alexis or Akiza or Mai, and make them like just, obviously can't win against like maybe in the first duel or the first pilot or something like that. They can beat the main leads, but from that moment on, they can't beat them, but they can definitely hold their own against like the main rival or the main best friend, or make them the best friend, as well as the love interest. But make them like a badass character, and not like, and then abandon it, halfway or by the second season. That's just my opinion. I don't know about you guys. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think about how they treat the females in the series, because I know I'm not the only one. But eventually, Yugi got his rematch against Raphael, showing him the error of his ways, showing that like, darts lie to you, and like and like when you and Raphael eventually played the seal of Orichalcos himself in order to boost his monster's power, and he starts pulling the same stunt as after he was criticizing Yui or Pharaoh for doing the exact same things like he's doing right now, sacrifices monsters and is still calling the Pharaoh evil, and he like just sacrifices monsters left and right after his guardian Yatos got sent to the graveyard, which kind of like ruins his like strategy keeping his monsters out because he has love for his monsters so much that he's willing to sacrifice his own life points just to keep them on the field. He never wants his monsters to be in the graveyard. But once in, the Guardian Dread Scythe monster rises when Yatos is in the grave. And after Pharaoh eventually defeats the creature by reviving Yatos and reminding Raphael of his misgivings, the seal doesn't take him. Given the fact that he how was it put it? At least come to the realization that because like the seal of Orichalcos feeds off the users, or at least the duelist's darkness inside their heart. If they overcome their darkness before that happens, then the seal doesn't take a soul because it has no darkness to feed off of, kind of thing. But they all finally confront Darts, Kaiba and Yugi tag team duel against him, and this was an eye opener, given the fact that after Yugi brought Yugi and I think Kaiba too brought up the fact that what they did to those bikers, it just manipulating everybody, and like he just came clean. It's like yeah, and like little did they know, it's like all of their little grievances they had against you guys, I orchestrated all that. I needed 3 strong duels. I couldn't do this by myself, because apparently, I was going to break it down for you right now. Alistair, when you saw like Gozo Bros really Darts, playing mind games just to, because he's trying to, get them angry and resentful and hateful, and he sees the potential of their dueling skills, so he needed like strong duels as his henchmen, but they need to be feeding off their anger. So he was responsible for what happened to his little brother. Raphael, he summoned that storm because Raphael was a rich little kid. He had his family. It was on a yacht. His life was good. He wasn't no rich snob or anything like that. He was just enjoying a time on a yacht. I believe it was his birthday, so his little brother and sister gave him Duel Monsters cards, the Guardians specifically. A storm came in, which Darts was responsible for, and capsized the boat, killing a lot of people but him, but they just went missing. So he was trapped on an island, castaway style, for years, for at least 3 years, because he was maybe he was like 10 at that time, and then 3 years he was 13, and on the island he had the Guardians to keep him company, kind of like Wilson and Tom Hanks and the volleyball Wilson, just keep him sane for the most part while he survived on his island, and got rescued. And then Darts came at him again after he festered, or at least seeded the thought in his head, like your family abandoned you and left you alone on that island, but I'll be your family, kind of situation. And then for Valen was always like, well, he eventually become a punk kid, getting in fights and getting sent to like juvenile hall and all that stuff. But the first time that even happened, Darts orchestrated that in the first place to put him in the position that he was in throughout so long. So on the last detention center he went to, the head of the facility, worked for Darks and uh, put Valen to work with dueling bunch of uh, kids who's also there, and trapped them in the sealed orichalcos, because he's been feeding this beast for 10,000 years. The Darks' backstory, uh, uh, these like a meteorite. He's from Atlantis, and everything was peaceful, and prosperous and everything like that. He had a wife. His father was previous king, but he took over. They had a daughter, Chris, because Lionheart was his father. This meteorite came crashing down into uh, uh, the city of Atlantis, and it's kind of like similar to like Wakanda with the vibranium, and it helps them flourish into a like jump ahead in the curve so far as like technology and culture and everything like that. But the unlike the vibranium, the silver orichalcos corrupted a lot of their minds, and even Darts, who believed that the seal orichalcos showed them their true colors and their inner darkness, and he was felt like because the great beast got in his head, just to get him to release him so he can destroy the world. And Darth, believing that he was charged with saving the world, and so deluded, and like the orichalcos like really polluted his mind. So you get those kind of backstories, which infuriating Pharaoh, that like and a lot of his gang, fact that the people they've been running into, and including their friends like Mai, and it's like you poison their minds with this bull crap, and you orchestrate it and mess with their lives just to get them to fall in the place to make them like your henchmen, and you ruin their lives you ruin Alice's life, by well, all three of their lives more specifically, but like I don't know about Valen's family, lineage or anything like that, but you definitely ruined Raphael and Alex's lives because you took their family away. You killed their family, man, just to have some henchmen. Uh, that's just hardcore and like just cruel. And it's like as the Pharaoh put it, like you're sick, and of course their duel, and it was like pretty cool. I mean, it's not exactly high on the totem pole as far as like great boss fight kind of duels. It's like mid tier. I still think like the other duels that Yugi had with like the main villains of the series, or at least the end villains of the series, is a little higher up than Darts. Like it was enjoyable of a duel. I think I got more out of the other duels by comparison, as far as like the twisted turns and back and forth and the kind of cards you get to see. You don't get to see much with Darts. That's the thing. I think you get to see like maybe like 7 to 10 cards from him. And throughout like this 5 episode arc of a duel. But Yugi managed to summon all 3 of the dragons, and unlocking their true form, which shows like each of the owners' faces. Cretus has Kaiba's face, and so on. And Yugi combined them all to make this perfect, like a perfect warrior in gold, and destroy this serpent monster that not the great beast, but just a dual card, the serpent monster, this Darth summon. And it's kind of cool because it's like it's kind of similar to what happened in the virtual world, where you summon like your deck master onto the field. and but if it goes away, then you automatically lose. It's like he pulled that same stunt, but uh, it wasn't over because he managed to merge with the Leviathan, uh, given the fact that he gave up his own soul just to top it all off, just to get the beast to be released. But thanks to the uh, Guardian Dragon's helps, they release Kaiba and Joey from the belly of the beast, essentially, so they can all three can go and defeat Darts and the Leviathan Dragon once for all. And then it was like a cool shot where, like, you got back. I don't know, Little Yugi came back too. So they all came back. Those three in particular came back, and Little Yugi, took back the Egyptian God cards, and Pharaoh summoned them just so, like, they can, like, after the legendary night dragons got their licks in, and a bunch of other monsters gets their licks in, you get the Egyptian God cards coming in to finish this, dragon off. And then there's a nice little, battle of wills between Darts and Pharaoh. When Pharaoh's enveloped by all this darkness, he finally defeats the Leviathan dragon by just absorbing it and somehow extinguishing the darkness, so that is no longer corrupting Darts. He's back with his daughter and father, and, like, because this is all happening on Atlantis itself, and while it's sinking back into the ocean, Yugi, Kaiba, Joey went back home, and now, as the story ends, they can finally get back on task of doing what they were planning on doing at the beginning of this season, which is finally getting down to brass tacks and figuring out the Pharaoh's unknown history. And that is the Awakening of the Dragons arc, which I thoroughly enjoy. I mean, the Darkest Duel is fine, but everything else preceding it, I got more out of, and always, just you get to see Pharaoh getting corrupted and losing a duel because of falling to prey to the darkness, like so many of his adversaries had done in the past. You get to see, like, a lot of rival duels, that began since Duelist Kingdom. Mai and Joey and Rex and Weevil and Pharaoh, just returning, not necessarily big bads, but just adversaries along the way, just getting a bite of the apple because they feel ire against the main protagonist. So it's fun, and, like, the biker dudes, it's like you get more out of, which is kind of rare, where you get more out of the supporting villains in this arc than you do the main villain, if that makes any sense. Because I always thought, like, Raphael, Valen, and Alistair were so well thought out supporting bad guys that eventually turned to good guys. I always thought that was very clever. And Raphael didn't feel like an all the way bad guy. He truly believed that he was trying to save the world. I think they all truly believed they was trying to save the world. It's just they that was twisted by Darts. And the fact that you see, like, Raphael actually cares so much about his monster cards, like the Pharaoh does, but even more so the fact that he's willing to sacrifice his own life points just to keep them on the field and out of the graveyard. That's how much more he cared. But like, not to put any shade on the Pharaoh, like, he's doing just like anybody else dueled. Where it's like sometimes you gotta put your monsters in the graveyard, especially when you sacrifice them to summon a better monster. It's the nature of the game, but it's just impressive and more admirable, that I see, like, a character like Raphael, who's putting his own life at the line for the sake of monsters that saved his life as a kid. and I always thought that was like that. And that he's the real deal. I gotta give that to him. But that was the arc. Uh, some point next month, we'll be wrapping up the final Duel Monsters season 5 before we lead into GX. So this one's gonna be not exactly my favorite. Is parts of this that I do not like. Just minor parts here and there, bits and pieces that like I really remember not really enjoying most because I remember that Tokuki Takahashi, I butchered the first name, but the creator of the Yu-Gi-Oh series, during the last, at least halfway through the last part of the final season, had like ulcers and had like to go through the operation or something like that, so he couldn't do what he really wanted to do and flesh out with the final season with trying to regain the Pharaoh's memories and everything like that. There's certain stuff that was not included that he probably wanted to include just to fill out the story properly, because there's some ends that don't connect well. But we'll definitely get to that. But let me know what you guys think of the Waking of the Dragons arc. Is that one of your favorites? Is something you didn't like about it? Just let me know. And I will see you guys next time for more season, or at least TV show reviews.